Canberra for Cam's Mortgage Minute on Monday, May the 13th. Hey, there's, as you know, always talk about a housing correction, market correction, all these different things. I thought I would just kind of take a few minutes out and share some additional thoughts on that with you. You know what, whether the Canadian market is overvalued or not, that remains to be seen, but again, we're seeing price corrections out there. However, if we look at, as an example, let's say you bought a house about 10 years ago, even in Victoria. 10 years ago, well actually, you know what, I'll even use a shorter time. I bought a house in Victoria when I moved here back in now 2005. At that time, that house was around $300,000. Later on in 2010, we sold that house for over $550,000. So it was a considerable upswing. Now, the folks that bought it recently, obviously that house, I saw it back on the market and it was around $495,000, $500,000. So they're in a position they can't sell right now. But if I had kept that house overall from the time I originally bought it, it still held in value pretty strong. Even at $500,000, I was still miles ahead from where I started. The real reality in a market like this is that you really are in a position where, let's say you're going to take a loss if you have to sell, if you're in a forced sell position. If you're in a position where you can hold on to that property and you don't have to sell, a market correction is not going to be anything staggering for you. I mean, the bottom line is, even if you sell the house, you're going to have to rent somewhere. You're going to have to pay some costs no matter where you go. So if you can afford to stay in the property, it's going to make sense to hold on to it. You know what, whether we see a further correction in the future, that still remains to be seen, which way the market goes. Overall, it shows signs of being able to hold in there and hold on pretty tight. But you know what, no matter what you invest in, and that's the other thing, a lot of times people will invest in different things. Even if you invest in the stock market, there's always a risk. There's many different risk factors that creep in. But the bottom line is to look at a diversification. I mean, that's what you should ideally be doing. Not only having your asset as real estate, but having other assets as well. And the other thing you need to be focused on is paying off that debt quickly. I mean, I get asked often, hey, how do I build up equity in a property? Really, there's only two ways. One is the property values go up. Number two, the one that you have control over, is paying your debt down. How do you do that? Well, you take a shorter amortization. You double up on payments. You dump lump sum payments whenever you can. You take all of those proactive steps so that way, if you are in a position where you're forced to sell suddenly, you're going to have a chance of at least having built some equity up in the meantime. In other words, paying some of that debt off. So even if the property value holds true, at least you've reduced your debt. At a minimum, a mortgage, if you think about it, is a forced savings plan. The bottom line is, for it to have any kind of a half-decent return, what you need to do is accelerate the pay down as fast as you can, so any additional surplus funds are going towards paying this debt down. But again, like I said, if you're not in a position where you have to sell right now in this market, and you bought years ago, hey, your chances are you're still up considerably from where the prices were, let's say even in 2007, 2008. And I know I've seen the stats here in Victoria, prices are still in excess of those levels at 2007 when they peaked, in 2008 when we had that subprime meltdown, and then numbers started rising again. And for folks who've held on to property for a decade or longer, they're more than comfortable. A 20% correction even in market for them is going to mean they're still up profit-wise. So long as they don't need this house for their retirement plan right now, they're not going to have to take a hit on that money or that cash flow right now. So, bottom line, it goes back to what I always hark on time and time again. Reduce your debt, reduce your overall exposure to all debt, and really be on a program to be paying off these mortgages rapidly. And if that means restructuring your entire debt position, then that's what you need to do. And if you need help with that, give us a call at the Auxilium team. We're always ready, willing, and able to help. Not just mortgage-wise, but if you need some help and advice on getting a budget together, or basically taking a look at this overall debt position you're in and looking at some better ways to restructure it all, so that way you can get out of debt overall sooner and improve your cash flow, like I said, give us a shout. We'll be happy to help. Anyway, it's been Cam for Cam's Mortgage Minute, and I will see you tomorrow.